Think women are a riddle no man can solve. Think again. Beneath the confidence, charm, and complexity, every woman has hidden emotional vulnerabilities that even she might not realize. If you know how to spot these subtle cracks, you'll understand what truly makes her heart race, what keeps her thinking about you long after you're gone, and what creates a connection most men only dream of. This isn't about cheap tricks or manipulation. It's about sharpening your awareness of what others overlook. Because while average guys keep guessing, the wise man reads the unspoken signs and moves with quiet precision. In this video, we'll reveal the top 9 female weaknesses every man needs to know to unlock deeper attraction and real intimacy. Some insights will catch you off guard, some will make you smile, and a few will make you wonder how you missed them for so long. Stay tuned. What you're about to learn could change everything. Number 1. Unshakable confidence that stands alone. Many believe women crave a flashy, loud type of bravado, but the real truth is that what captivates them most is a calm, unwavering confidence that doesn't seek anyone's approval. This is the quiet power that enters a room without needing eyes to turn, that never wonders if it's worthy, because it already knows its own value. That's the hidden vulnerability. Women are irresistibly drawn to the man who isn't chasing praise or trying to prove his worth with hollow words. Most men waste time flooding her phone with constant compliments, bragging about their accomplishments, or putting on an act just to stand out. But women have an almost supernatural instinct to detect desperation. They sense when a man is trying too hard to impress. True magnetic confidence isn't noisy. It's the man who stays composed when she tests him, the one who doesn't scramble to fill awkward silences, who can simply be still and let his presence do the speaking. Even if she seems tough, or pretends she's calling all the shots when faced with a man who quietly holds his position without arrogance or anxiety, her defenses weaken in ways she can't control. It's because her deeply rooted feminine energy seeks emotional steadiness, not loud arrogance, but that subtle strength that makes her feel protected and cherished at the same time. The man who doesn't over-explain, doesn't rush, and doesn't feel the need to prove anything. He creates a sense of mystery that consumes her thoughts long after he's gone. He's the one she replays in her mind late at night. So don't fall into the trap of overcompensating. Instead, move with intention, slow your pace, and let your inner calmness radiate louder than any words could. When your energy speaks with quiet certainty, you don't need to force attraction. You naturally become the man who stands out without even trying. That's the kind of presence that leaves an unforgettable mark on her heart. Number 2. The rare power of intuitive understanding. Here's a reality that many overlook. Countless women go through life feeling like they're speaking a different language, exhausted from having to constantly explain what they mean or how they feel. They're worn down from repeating "I'm fine" when they're anything but from having their feelings dismissed as irrational or dramatic, and from being treated like their emotions are inconvenient puzzles to solve rather than signals to understand. What truly disarms a woman on a soul-deep level is a man who doesn't need every emotion translated word for word. Someone who can sense the subtle shifts in her mood, who notices the quiet moments when her spirit seems heavy, and who pays attention to the small signs she gives off without making her beg to be heard. You don't need supernatural intuition. You just need the patience and presence to tune in. Instead of thinking ahead to the next witty line, or trying to force solutions onto every problem, focus entirely on the moment you're sharing with her. Feel the energy of the conversation. Hear the quiet tremble in her voice when she says it's nothing, and realize it means everything. And when you gently pause, meet her eyes and say, "I sense something's bothering you. I'm here whenever you're ready." You're offering something priceless: safety, without judgment. This simple act of seeing her without demanding explanations, of creating a space where she doesn't need to perform or hold herself together, is a rare and powerful gift. Because despite what some think, women don't truly fall for the man who dazzles them with flashy gestures or clever words. They surrender their hearts to the one who makes them feel deeply understood and accepted exactly as they are. So stop trying to impress with constant fixes or advice. Don't pressure her into opening up on your timeline. Just be fully there with her, attuned to the subtle cues most men overlook. That kind of quiet, attentive presence breaks through her defenses and touches something inside she may have thought no one could reach. It's one of her deepest emotional vulnerabilities, and the key to forming a connection she'll never forget. Number 3. The magnetic power of intentional silence. There's an enormous difference between a silence that feels cold and punishing, and one that radiates quiet strength and presence. The first kind of silence pushes people away, leaves them feeling anxious, defensive, or even resentful. But the second type, the silence of a man completely at ease with himself, draws people in with a mysterious, almost hypnotic pull. It's this kind of grounded stillness that makes a man unforgettable. Most men completely misunderstand silence. They see it as something uncomfortable, even dangerous, and they scramble to fill it with nervous chatter or explanations. When a conversation grows tense or emotions start to flare, they rush to talk over the discomfort, trying desperately to fix or control the moment with words. If a woman goes quiet, they immediately bombard her with questions or apologies. If she challenges them, they launch into defenses or excuses, and without realizing it, they reveal their emotions are as reactive as a leaf in the wind, easily blown off course. But a man who has cultivated true inner calm knows how to use silence not as a weapon, but as a shield. He understands that staying silent in the right moment doesn't mean retreating or giving up. It means holding steady, refusing to be baited by provocations or swept up in emotional chaos. This silence isn't cold detachment. It's powerful composure that radiates confidence and self-control. It tells her without a single word, "I'm not here to play petty games," or "Your storm won't shake my foundation." Women feel this deeply, because when a man can meet rising tension with calm, when he can stand firm without defensiveness, it shows her something incredibly rare: emotional mastery. And that's a presence she won't forget. Let's be absolutely clear. This is not the toxic, passive-aggressive silent treatment meant to punish or control someone. That kind of silence is immature and rooted in insecurity. Instead, what sets you apart is the ability to stay composed when everything around you tries to provoke a reaction, to choose thoughtful stillness over mindless noise. This kind of masculine silence protects your energy, keeps you centered, and creates an unspoken sense of safety and respect in every interaction. Number 4. Unwavering eye contact that reveals true presence. There's something ancient, almost animalistic about eye contact when it's deep and unbroken. Not the kind of fleeting glance you offer out of politeness, or the quick look you give to avoid awkwardness in conversation. I'm talking about the kind of eye contact that lingers just a heartbeat longer than expected, the gaze that holds steady and says without words, "I see you, all of you, and I'm completely comfortable with what I see." This level of eye contact carries a raw, magnetic energy. It's more than just a look. It's a silent message of certainty and confidence. Yet most men don't even realize how quickly they avert their gaze. She locks eyes, and they instinctively drop theirs, fiddle with something, or shift their posture as anxious thoughts race through their minds. Am I making a fool of myself? Does she find me interesting? What does her expression mean? Here's the truth. Women are exquisitely attuned to these tiny cues. When your eyes dart away, or you break contact too soon, it sends signals of uncertainty, self-doubt, and inner chaos. On the other hand, when you can meet her gaze with quiet, unhurried stillness, especially during moments of emotional intensity, you flip a switch inside her. Because that kind of unflinching eye contact does three powerful things at once. First, it anchors you in the present. There's no faking this. Deep eye contact forces you to set aside your fears and insecurities and show up fully, right here, right now. Any inner turmoil or hesitation will show instantly through your eyes. They don't lie. But when your mind is calm and your presence grounded, your gaze reflects that stability, and she feels it immediately. Second, it bypasses her surface defenses. She might try to come off aloof, act disinterested, or test you with subtle challenges. But when your eyes remain soft, yet steady, you cut through the layers of posturing and reach the part of her that's yearning to be seen without pretense. It's not about staring with aggression or intensity, but about bringing a masculine stillness that disarms her need to keep walls up. Third, it redefines the emotional atmosphere of the interaction. Most people expect nervousness. They anticipate you'll get flustered or try to overcompensate with words or humor. But when you simply stay with her in silence, looking into her eyes with unshakable composure, you communicate something rare. You're not here to perform or win her approval. You're here to experience the moment as it is. And that's profoundly powerful. It's crucial to understand that this isn't about trying to dominate or intimidate. The power of deep eye contact lies not in forced intensity, but in a relaxed, open presence. When your energy is authentic, not performative, she'll feel safe and drawn in. But if you're using eye contact as a strategy, hoping it will magically spark attraction while your energy is needy or insecure, she'll sense the incongruence instantly. Her body language will tighten, her guard will rise, and she might not even know why, but something will feel off. Because eye contact reflects your inner world like a mirror. If you're centered, it radiates calm. If you're anxious, it projects nervousness. If you're pretending, it exposes the act. The real key is to become someone who doesn't flinch, not by forcing your eyes to stay locked, but by transforming the internal discomfort that makes you want to look away in the first place. When you can rest in the silence, meet her eyes with quiet self-assurance, and resist the urge to escape the intensity of true presence, you set yourself apart from almost every other man she's ever met. And that makes you memorable beyond words. Here's a simple challenge. The next time you're in a conversation, whether with a friend, a colleague, or a stranger, consciously hold eye contact one moment longer than you naturally would. Don't force it. Just breathe into the stillness and notice the urge to look away. That's where your growth begins. And if reading this stirs something inside you, if you recognize that you've been the guy who glances down too quickly, or who loses the connection when things get real, take this as your invitation to break that habit. Declare it right now, I don't flinch. Because when you stop shrinking from presence, people start seeing you as someone who stands his ground no matter what. Stay with me, because what comes next will show you why mastering what you withhold, not what you reveal, can awaken a level of desire and curiosity you never thought possible. Number 5. The magnetic allure of authentic depth. Let's be brutally honest. Many men get the concept of mystery completely wrong. They mistake mystery for emotional unavailability or deliberate vagueness. They think keeping a woman guessing means disappearing, withholding affection, or playing hot and cold games to appear unpredictable. But here's the reality: that isn't mystery at all. It's a sign of emotional immaturity, wearing the costume of intrigue. Genuine mystery doesn't come from creating confusion. It grows out of the richness of your inner world, a quiet depth you don't flaunt, but that others feel when they're near you. Real mystery isn't about avoiding vulnerability or hiding who you are. It's about not oversharing every detail of your soul the moment someone asks. It's the comfort of knowing that the most powerful parts of who you are can be revealed slowly, naturally, in layers that invite curiosity rather than overwhelm it. Here's what makes that so powerful: a man with true depth feels like an unfolding story. He's not a predictable one-page pamphlet, but a novel full of chapters, challenges, and meaning waiting to be discovered. That's what women find irresistible, not the man who ghosts them to seem elusive, but the one who shows steady presence, yet leaves something unspoken that keeps her mind engaged. From a Stoic perspective, this is the art of self-containment. The Stoics taught that a wise man doesn't broadcast his entire life story to anyone willing to listen. He knows his sense of self doesn't depend on others' approval or instant emotional validation. He doesn't spill his thoughts just to fill silence or prove his worth. Instead, he chooses his words with intention and knows the value of a well-timed pause. Contrast that with the modern man who overshares on the first date, recounting every heartbreak, every insecurity, and every dream, hoping that dumping his entire emotional history will convince her of his authenticity. But that's not vulnerability. It's a desperate attempt to earn acceptance. A man with authentic mystery does the opposite. He listens with full attention, responds thoughtfully, and only reveals what feels right for the moment. He's not secretive. He's selective. By sharing just enough to spark curiosity, he invites her to lean in rather than pushing her away with an avalanche of oversharing. Mystery creates space, and that space is powerful because it engages her imagination. In a world full of constant noise and oversharing, a man who knows how to let a moment breathe, who doesn't rush to fill every silence, becomes unforgettable. Because the human mind hates loose ends. It yearns to resolve the unknown. So when you let a part of yourself remain undisclosed, not out of fear, but from quiet confidence, you awaken a desire in her to know more. Consider a real-life example. You're on a date, and she asks about your past relationships. Rather than unloading your entire romantic history, you meet her eyes, offer a slight, knowing smile, and say, "I've learned some important lessons along the way, but I'd rather show you who I am now than dwell on who I used to be." In that moment, you say everything and nothing at the same time, and it captivates her. Not because you dodged the question, but because you answered it with presence and self-assurance. Or when she asks, "What do you do for work?" Most men reflexively recite a rehearsed resume, but you might reply, "I create solutions for quiet problems people don't always see." Then, you naturally shift the conversation back to her. You're not avoiding yourself. You're simply showing that your identity is more than a job title. Mystery, in this sense, isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding that real depth can't be revealed all at once. It unfolds with trust, timing, and intention. A man who respects himself knows that when he shares, it should mean something, and that earned access is what makes every moment more meaningful. If you've been the man who overshares to prove you're genuine, take a breath. Authentic mystery isn't about becoming distant or cryptic. It's about subtracting what's unnecessary, so what's truly important shines through. Let your character be revealed in your actions. Let your silences create room for her curiosity. Let your life story unfold slowly, like a book worth reading to the very last page. And if these words resonate with you, if you realize you've been giving away too much too soon, it's time to shift your energy. Say it now. I lead with depth. Because when you start embracing your own quiet complexity, people begin to sense your value without you having to spell it out. Stay tuned, because next, we're going to explore one of the most misunderstood forces in masculinity, a quality that doesn't just attract, but makes a woman feel profoundly safe and drawn in at the same time. You won't want to miss it. Number 6. Her irresistible draw to a man driven by purpose, not just fleeting passion. Let's set the record straight. So many men confuse passion with purpose, and in that confusion, they lose the very power they hope to wield. They assume that if they burn brightly enough, speak with intensity, and relentlessly chase dreams, it will keep a woman captivated forever. And it's true, passion can grab her attention in an instant. But what keeps her attention, what makes her trust and respect you, is purpose. Because passion without direction is like a wildfire, exciting at first, but ultimately chaotic and dangerous to everything around it. Purpose is what gives passion a place to go. It's the difference between fireworks that dazzle for a second and a steady flame that warms for years. Passion is your excitement, your drive, your energy. Purpose is your compass, your reason for moving forward even when the excitement fades. Passion comes and goes with moods and moments, but purpose is the foundation that keeps you anchored when life's storms hit. Here's where most men miss the mark. They believe a big dream or loud ambition is all it takes to impress. But a woman doesn't just want a man who talks about big ideas or works himself into exhaustion chasing dopamine highs. She wants a man whose ambition has clear direction, whose energy is focused and disciplined. Because when a man lives with purpose, he doesn't need to broadcast his potential or convince others of his worth. He quietly builds it day by day. His time becomes precious, his boundaries non-negotiable, and his choices deliberate. And this doesn't make him emotionally distant. In fact, it has the opposite effect. A woman who senses a man living with purpose feels secure, knowing he won't abandon his integrity to impress her or crumble at the first sign of difficulty. His stability tells her he stands for something beyond fleeting feelings or shallow attraction. And that kind of steadiness is more than attractive. It's profoundly reassuring. Let's weave in the Stoic perspective here. A man who truly understands Stoicism doesn't wake up chasing external validation or obsessing over outcomes he can't control. He starts each day asking himself what tasks align with his values, what actions are within his power, and what deserves his energy. His fulfillment comes not from applause, but from the quiet satisfaction of living with intention. He doesn't panic when things don't go his way, because his self-worth isn't tied to wins or losses. It's grounded in the process and the mission he's committed to. That's the essence of purpose. It doesn't sway with praise or criticism. It's the internal compass that guides you long after the thrill of passion fades. And that makes you not only reliable, but magnetic to a woman who's tired of men who talk big but fall apart under pressure. Let's get practical. Maybe you're building a company, creating music, pursuing mastery in a craft, or leading a meaningful cause. That's powerful. but only if you're doing it, because it aligns with your deepest values, not because you crave outside approval. Build, because it organizes your energy. Create, because it sharpens your focus. Lead, because it strengthens your discipline. When you operate from that place, you don't need to convince anyone of your worth. She'll sense it immediately in your calm, your decisions, and your steady gaze. And here's the paradox. Most men overlook, the less you chase validation, the more captivating you become. Because a woman who sees you anchored in something real knows you're not there to be consumed. You're there to build, to serve, to live a life with meaning beyond shallow thrills. She's not drawn just to the intensity of your fire. She's drawn to the direction in which your fire is burning. If you've been the man who confuses excitement with purpose, constantly shifting your goals, or trying to win her over with bursts of enthusiasm, it's time to change course. Because she'll feel the difference between a man who burns out quickly and one who burns steadily with intention. So here's your reflection. What are you working toward that still matters, even if no one is watching? What mission brings you back to center when distractions and emotions pull you off course? That's your purpose. Start living from that place. Let it guide how you use your time, how you set your boundaries, and how you show up every day. And the next time you speak to her, don't try to dazzle her with empty words or show off your passion. Let your direction speak for itself. Let your steady pursuit of something meaningful show her who you truly are. And if she's the kind of woman who values substance over spectacle, she'll respect you for it, and more importantly, she'll soften toward you. Because every truly feminine heart longs for a man who's not just alive with energy, but anchored in purpose. Say it now. If you feel this truth, I move with purpose. Because when you start building a life rooted in something bigger than chasing excitement, you stop being a temporary thrill, and you start becoming the real thing she can't help but admire. Stay with me, because next, we'll explore a force that has nothing to do with words or strategies. It's a silent presence that makes her feel secure and deeply drawn to you without a single word spoken. Number 7, her unspoken longing for a man who guides without trying to control. Let's be crystal clear. Many men misunderstand this dynamic, completely swinging to extremes that sabotage attraction. Some try to assert dominance over every detail of a woman's life, thinking they must dictate her every move to prove their strength. Others, terrified of appearing overbearing, step so far back, they become passive observers, avoiding any hint of leadership for fear of offending. Both approaches fail to recognize a powerful truth. Many women quietly yearn to feel a man's direction, not because they're incapable or weak, but because true grounded leadership brings them a profound sense of emotional safety. It's not about bossing her around or making decisions for her as if she can't handle herself. It's about radiating an unshakable presence that says, I know who I am, I know what I stand for, and I can hold steady even when things get messy. This isn't controlling, it's comforting. Because a man who embodies calm, confident leadership creates an atmosphere where a woman can finally exhale, knowing she doesn't have to do it all alone. So what does this kind of leadership look like? It starts with mastery of yourself. A man who tries to lead others without first learning to lead his own mind, emotions, and impulses is like a captain trying to steer a ship with no rudder. A Stoic man understands that real leadership begins within. As Epictetus wisely said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That's not just a quote, it's a compass for how you show up. Emotional leadership doesn't mean suppressing her feelings or dismissing her words. It means being the calm center when she feels overwhelmed, the steady anchor when emotions run high. It's having the strength to remain present when her storm hits, without meeting her intensity with more chaos. For example, if she's upset venting or even lashing out, the ungrounded man either snaps back or retreats in fear. But the man who leads with emotional maturity listens fully, breathes deeply, and sets a new tone by saying calmly, "I hear you." Let's pause for a second. We can figure this out together. That's not controlling her, that's guiding the moment. It shows her you can handle emotional turbulence without crumbling or trying to dominate. And that's exactly what many women crave deep down. Not a dictator who imposes authority, but a partner whose unshakable energy gives her permission to let go without feeling like she's losing herself. The feminine spirit resents being micromanaged, but yearns for strength. It can trust a man who stays steady when circumstances shift, who doesn't abandon his center when things get difficult. When she feels your ability to remain calm and composed without silencing her voice, she instinctively leans in. Not because you forced her, but because your unwavering presence makes surrendering to the moment feel safe. Here's where it gets practical. Imagine you're out together, and the environment becomes overwhelming. Maybe the noise, the crowd, or the mood is spiraling. Instead of getting flustered or standing by passively, you gently take her hand, look into her eyes, and say with quiet certainty, "Let's step outside for a minute." That simple, calm directive isn't about control. It's about leadership through presence. And it leaves a lasting imprint, not just as a memory, but as a feeling of being cared for and protected. Or consider when she's wrestling with a tough choice. Rather than dictating what she should do, you listen. Give her your perspective honestly and say, "Here's how I'd handle it, but I trust you to decide. I'm here, whatever you choose." That's guidance without coercion, a powerful balance of clarity and respect. The Stoics taught that true leadership is rooted in virtue and self-command, not in loud words or force. A man who leads himself first sets the tone of the relationship without having to raise his voice or assert dominance. He doesn't need to control every outcome, because his composure does the talking. This is what makes a woman feel she can trust him not as an overlord, but as a steadfast partner with a backbone. So if you've been shrinking back out of fear of being labeled controlling, or if you've tried to compensate with aggressive dominance, it's time for a new approach. Because real leadership isn't about imposing your will. It's about commanding your own energy so deeply that your presence brings clarity and calm to those around you. And in a world full of noise and uncertainty, that's the kind of man a woman will instinctively trust and respect. Declare it now if this resonates with you. I lead through calm. Because when you embody a centered, grounded leadership, you stop feeling like another source of chaos in her life and start becoming the solid presence she can count on. Stay tuned, because in the next part, we'll unpack a subtle behavior that turns heads without you saying a word. A quiet magnetism that commands respect effortlessly. Number 8. Her heart's hidden openness to words that open new dimensions. Let's dive into one of the most subtle, yet profoundly powerful ways to touch a woman's emotional world. Something that has nothing to do with your bank account, your appearance, or even your actions. It's your words. But not just any words. Words that awaken something inside her, words that reveal hidden parts of herself. Words that invite her into a world of feeling and possibility she rarely shares with others. Most men underestimate how deeply words can shape a woman's emotional landscape. They think words are just for filling silence or landing a compliment. They throw out generic lines like, "You look great," or "You're amazing," hoping it will be enough to impress. But true connection doesn't come from cliches or rehearsed lines. It comes from language that carries vision, from words that don't just describe, but create words that reveal rather than obscure. Because here's what many men miss. Women don't live solely in the realm of logic or cold facts. They inhabit rich inner worlds full of memories, feelings, subtle textures of emotion. And when you can speak into that space, you bypass shallow attraction and reach the very center of her being. It's not about manipulation. It's about connection, about meeting her where her imagination lives and showing her something she might not have dared to see alone. When your words are alive with presence and intention, you become more than another face in the crowd. You become an experience she feels. Think about it: saying, "You look good tonight," is forgettable. But saying, "The moment you walked in, it felt like the whole room took a breath, like everything slowed down for just a second," shows her not just that you noticed her, but that you felt her impact on the environment. Suddenly, she sees herself through your eyes in a new way. And that's what it means to paint new worlds with words. This isn't about memorizing poetic lines. It's about tuning into the present moment with full awareness, so your words arise from genuine perception, not forced flattery. That's where Stoic practice comes in, by cultivating clarity within you. Learn to speak without ego or insecurity. A man who lives with Stoic self-mastery doesn't throw words around carelessly. He understands, as Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Every word you speak colors both your world and hers, even if only in the smallest brushstrokes. When your words consistently reflect beauty, insight, or encouragement without trying to sell yourself or manipulate, she starts to associate your presence with emotional richness. You become the man whose words don't just pass through her ears, but leave echoes in her heart. And the beauty of this approach is that it doesn't require grand speeches or constant romance. It simply asks you to pay close attention, to speak what you see and feel with authenticity. For instance, if she shares a long-forgotten dream she once held close as a child, most men might nod and move on. But you can pause, let the moment breathe, and say softly, "I can still hear that little girl's excitement in your voice. She deserves a place in your life again." In that instant, you haven't tried to solve anything. You've seen her, truly seen her, and described her in a way that creates a new possibility. That moment will live in her memory far longer than any compliment about her looks. And this isn't about trying to be poetic all the time. It's about being aware of the power your words have to inspire, heal, or expand someone's heart. Because when you speak with presence and emotional depth, your words don't just occupy space, they transform it. Women are especially attuned to language that carries meaning, language that invites growth, or creates softness in moments of tension. That's why a single sentence you spoke years ago can live in her mind forever, while superficial words fade almost instantly. So the next time you're with her, ask yourself, am I filling silence with noise? Or am I using my words to add meaning, intimacy, or inspiration? Because words that create depth don't just get heard, they get felt. And what's felt lasts far longer than anything you can wear, own, or post online. If this resonates with you, if you're ready to speak with intention rather than repetition, declare it now. I speak with vision. Because when your words offer her a space where she can feel seen, inspired, and safe, you don't just capture her attention, you change the way she sees herself. Stay with me, because what's coming next isn't about language or strategy. It's about the silent, masculine energy that draws her closer without you uttering a single word. Number 9. the silent power of a man who knows when to walk away. Let's cut through the illusions for a moment and get painfully honest. There's an unspoken aspect of attraction that few dare to acknowledge. And it's the fact that a woman instinctively respects a man who has the quiet strength to walk away when he isn't valued. Not because he's trying to punish her, not because he's playing mind games or emotionally manipulating the situation, but because he understands his worth so deeply that he refuses to remain in a space where his standards are violated. And that's where real power lies, not in threats or ultimatums, but in an unwavering self-respect that radiates from the inside out. This isn't about cultivating aloofness or faking disinterest. It's about embodying a level of dignity so steady that it naturally shifts the dynamic, often without you saying a single word. Many men fear this mindset, worrying it will make them appear distant or unavailable, afraid it will drive her away. And sometimes it does. But if she leaves because you refuse to cling or chase, she was never truly present with you to begin with. She was attached to the version of you that depended on her validation, the version willing to sacrifice his standards just to keep her around. Emotional neediness, the desperate energy of needing her affection, approval, or attention, is the quickest way to lose her respect. Women can sense it instantly. They see when a man accepts crumbs of affection, tolerates mixed signals, or sticks around after repeated disrespect. Even if she doesn't voice it every moment you stay, when you should walk chips away at her admiration. Because at a fundamental level, the feminine craves polarity. A man who provides emotional direction, sets boundaries, and stands rooted in certainty. Walking away when done without anger or drama, but with calm and resolute self-respect, is the ultimate expression of masculine confidence. It shows her you won't compromise your values, even for the promise of her affection. And ironically, that's the very energy that stirs deep attraction. We've all been there. The texts left unanswered, the emotional distance growing, the excuses piling up. And what do most men do? They double down, chase harder, rationalize, or beg for clarity. But every time you do, you slip further out of alignment with your own worth. And she feels it. Because when your energy becomes all about preserving her interest, rather than protecting your own integrity, you become easy to disregard. Here's where everything shifts when you reclaim your self-worth. Stop negotiating your value and quietly pull back. The dynamic changes instantly. She will sense the absence of your presence, not as a game, but as the natural result of you withdrawing your energy from a space where it wasn't respected. And if there's genuine care on her side, that absence becomes impossible to ignore. Because the truth is, a woman can't fully respect a man who is terrified of losing her. She might appreciate his devotion, might enjoy the attention, but true admiration, the kind that sustains long-term attraction, only grows when she sees you can choose her, but don't need her. That's the essence of Stoic masculinity. Your identity isn't defined by how someone else responds to you, but by how you remain faithful to your principles, even when it's uncomfortable. Seneca captured this perfectly when he said, "If you live in harmony with nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to what others think, you will never be rich." Because when you chase affection from a place of lack, you become a slave to outcomes you can't control. But when you stand calmly in your truth, you reclaim power over your life, and paradoxically, you become far more attractive. Sometimes this means stepping away from situations that drain you. When she repeatedly cancels plans, gives you lukewarm effort, or sends mixed signals, instead of confronting her with accusations or pleading for reassurance, you step back. You stop initiating, You allow silence to speak, and you let your absence reflect the seriousness of your standards. Whether she responds with renewed respect or fades away doesn't determine your value, your self-honor does. And here's the most important part. This is never about proving something to her. It's about proving to yourself that you will no longer compromise your boundaries to keep anyone in your life. When you operate from that place, you free yourself from the fear of loss, and ironically, that's when many women realize how much they want you. So if you've been staying in situations where your needs go unmet, hoping she'll see your worth, if you just hang on long enough, let this be your call to reclaim your strength. Because the moment a woman senses you can walk away, she's confronted with the truth of what it means to lose you. And if she respects you, that realization will echo louder than any words. Say it now. If you're ready to own this power, I walk with worth. Because when you move from quiet self-respect, you stop being one of many chasing her attention and start becoming the one man she can't help but admire. Stick around, because what comes next will reveal a final, often overlooked key to creating a connection so deep and lasting, it can only happen when you've mastered emotional independence. The hidden final key, unlocking her deepest softness through your emotional independence. Let's bring everything together with one last truth. Most men never even consider a quiet force so subtle. It can only appear when you've stopped grasping, when you've stepped fully into your own emotional sovereignty. This is the moment when, instead of chasing her or trying to impress you, create a space where she can finally reveal the tenderest, most unguarded parts of herself. Because here's what many overlook: a woman's deepest emotional vulnerability doesn't emerge in response to constant praise or efforts to please her. It appears when she feels she's in the presence of a man who stands complete on his own, a man who isn't looking to her for validation, permission, or a sense of identity. That independence creates safety, and that safety invites her to open up in ways she would never allow with someone she senses is emotionally dependent on her reaction. Most men believe that if they just give more text, more show up, more, they can coax a woman into deeper connection. But the truth is, giving without grounded boundaries often comes off as anxious energy, not genuine devotion. It can leave her feeling like she's responsible for your emotional well-being, a weight no woman wants to carry. True intimacy begins when she senses you'll be fine with, or without her approval, that your heart is open but not desperate. Think about the way the Stoics taught us to cultivate a center that cannot be shaken by fortune or misfortune. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that the only thing truly within his power was his own mind and actions. When you embody that same inner stability, you naturally inspire her trust, not through control, not through constant reassurance, but by being a quiet presence she can lean into when she's ready, knowing you won't crumble if she hesitates or pulls away for a moment. This emotional independence doesn't make you cold. On the contrary, it frees you to love more honestly, because your affection comes without strings. You can give freely not out of neediness, but because you choose to, and that choice makes your love feel rare and real. Here's what this looks like in practice. When she shares something vulnerable, you don't rush to fix it or change the subject. You simply hold the space, letting her words exist without trying to control how they land. When she's distant, you don't chase her with frantic energy. You remain warm but grounded, sending the quiet message that you'd love her presence, but don't require it to feel whole. And when you live this way, something profound happens. She starts to sense that being near you helps her access a softness and safety she can't find in most men, a place where she doesn't need to perform, where she doesn't have to hide her fears, where she can be both strong and delicate without judgment. That's the final weakness. So few men ever learn to touch the place where she can surrender fully, not because you forced it, but because your unshakable inner strength gave her permission to let her guard down. And it can't be faked. You can't pretend to be independent while seething with anxiety beneath the surface. You have to do the work to release the need to control outcomes, to find peace in your own solitude, to trust yourself so completely that you don't need her to complete you. When you become that man, she doesn't just want your attention. She feels drawn to your presence in a way that words can't fully describe. She feels safe to reveal the most hidden corners of her heart. And in a world full of men who either chase obsessively or hide behind false stoicism, you become unforgettable. So if you're ready to claim this final key to authentic attraction, say it now: I stand complete. Because when you live with true emotional independence, you give her the rare gift of space to surrender fully into your presence. And that's where the deepest connection begins. Thank you so much for watching. If these insights resonated with you, and you're ready to keep growing into your strongest, most grounded self, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Join our community for more timeless wisdom on relationships, Stoic philosophy, and mastering your inner game. Your support means everything, and remember, the journey to true strength starts within. Subscribe now and never miss a moment of transformation.